Hello and welcome to another episode of Media Dialogues with Storyboard 18. I'm Delshad Irani and today I'm speaking with Hamish McVey, who is the Global Director of Marketing at British Airways. In 2024, BA, which is one of the world's most iconic airline brands, will celebrate 100 years of flying to India. So what's in store for the UK-based airline brand's third largest market globally as it marks a significant milestone? What are the new insights about Indian travelers that are informing the airline's marketing and media strategies? Can the brand set itself apart in a highly competitive aviation sector? Let's ask Hamish McVey and find out. Hello and welcome to CNBC TV18, Hamish. It's lovely to have you on the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So lots of exciting stuff happening at BA, of course, but let me kick off by asking you, how important is the India market for British Airways, given that it is a legacy brand, legacy market, and it's the third largest market for BA around the world after, of course, UK and the US. So how is it faring, and where does the market stand for BA?
Yeah, so the Indian market has always been a hugely important market for us. Next year we're celebrating 100 years of flying to India. So it's in our top three markets. We fly into 5 gateways. We've got 56 flights a week. So it's a really, really important place for us. And that's not just for flying to the UK, but also we fly a lot of customers from India through London and on to North America in particular. So it's always been important to us, and it certainly is going to be for the future.
Yes, and Indians have a sort of strange affinity for the brand. Do you find that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of love for the British Airways brand, both here and in a lot of markets around the world. I think our sort of professionalism, expertise, the way we deliver our unique British service, that's the sort of thing that brings people back to us every time they fly. Quintessentially
British.
Yeah, absolutely.
But okay, let me dial back a little bit, Hamish, and ask you, what are some of the sort of interesting and new consumer insights and travel trends that are perhaps informing your marketing, media, advertising strategies? We'll sort of get the big picture first, and then I'm going to ask you specifically about the insights that are driving the work in India.
Yes.
On the marketing front.
Yeah. Well, I think overall in the last sort of 2-3 years since COVID, we've seen a lot of demand come back into the market quite quickly, and what's good is that demand has been sustained. So we're seeing more premium leisure travel, a lot of people flying business class on holiday, and that demand has been maintained, which is really good to see. And I think what it shows is that love and passion for travel and exploring the world, finding new experiences, is still very much there for people. So for us, it's been about responding to that and really making sure that our network is set up to respond to the demand as it's been coming back into the market. Probably India is a really good example of that, about where we've had to really look at how we capture that demand in the market. We've got more flights into India. We recently started a 3rd daily flight into Mumbai. We fly twice a day to Delhi as well. And we've also started flying our Club Suite, which is our newest business class product, into India. So, a lot of demand there, which is we're making sure that we're in the market and ready to capture it.
Let me just sort of pick on what you said about perhaps the sort of luxury segment that you're seeing, and we're seeing that quite a bit across sort of product categories and services. There's a real demand for premium goods and services and luxury in India. We're seeing that boom. Just dig into that a little bit more and tell me how maybe BA is calibrating its services and offerings specifically again for the India market.
Absolutely. So as I was saying, the premium leisure market really has been strong. We're seeing people really want, even when there are tough economic times, people do tend to ring fence money for travel because it's an important thing for them. I guess it depends on the type of customer we're talking about, but there's certainly a sizable proportion of the market for whom flying is a really important part of what they do. So in terms of how we're responding to it, we're making sure that our aircraft are set up with the right configuration. We're making sure our network is set up in the right way, and we've had to make quite a lot of tweaks to the network since COVID, making sure we've got planes pointing in the directions where there really is that demand.
And where is that demand?
Well, I mean, certainly for India is a great example. As I said earlier, we're at 56 flights a week into India now, and I think the 3rd daily into Mumbai is a really good example of where we're seeing that demand. We're also making sure that we're investing in the customer experience. So the Club Suite, which is our newest business class product, is now on 60% of our long-haul fleet. We've got Wi-Fi on most of the long-haul fleet as well. We've put a huge amount more content onto the in-flight entertainment. Catering has changed. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are happening to make sure that we're well placed to respond to the premium customer needs.
And in terms of where you're seeing more of the demand coming from, in terms of whether leisure or is it business, are you seeing any sort of changes there in that kind of equation?
Well, I think we've definitely seen a change in the business leisure mix. Business travel has, we've certainly seen a lot more business coming back, but it's not quite at the levels that we had before the pandemic.
Okay.
And I think business in general has probably changed to some degree, but what we are seeing is really positive demand for leisure, which is what we're really making sure we're there to capture. Equally for business travel, there are certain segments of the market that probably have come back quicker than others, and we're making sure that our customer experience is there to offer what they need.
Right. Which segments are you referring to?
Well, I think there were some, maybe some examples. I mean, even probably during COVID, the entertainment industry is a really good example. The amount of production that's taking place globally, across the big content platforms. That meant there was a lot of demand for teams that are travelling around the world to produce content, and we're seeing that continue as well. So that's probably quite a good example of one.
Yes. So let me just then talk a little bit about what you have planned in terms of your advertising and marketing for India. Of course, we're getting into the great Indian festive season.
Absolutely.
It's the golden quarter.
Yep.
Lots of excitement, also cautious optimism in terms of demand here from a lot of sectors and companies. But when it comes to sort of your industry and what you are seeing, and how are you responding then in terms of your campaigns to capture the festive demand and spirit?
So we're launching a campaign really to celebrate Diwali, and that's going into the market right now. What we've done this time, though, is we've taken a slightly different approach to it, because Diwali is obviously about celebrating families, friends coming together, something that obviously they weren't able to do during the pandemic, and it's great that people can get back to doing that. We also want to celebrate and thank the people that make that happen, because for a lot of people, they're going to be working across the Diwali period. And actually the campaign is a combination of celebration of Diwali and everyone coming together, but it's also a way to thank a lot of the people at British Airways who will be working across the Diwali period and helping make all of those great connections and reunions happen.
And you've used your employees in the films, right?
We have, yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing for us to do. We've got cabin crew in there. We've got some of our customer service team from Delhi Airport. We've got some of our colleagues from our Call BA engagement centre here in Delhi. So they're all represented, and we've even got some of their family in it as well, because the way the campaign works is it's their family that are leaving the messages saying how much they're missing them and how much they're looking forward to seeing them again. So there's a real authenticity to it.
Heartwarming.
Yes.
Let me talk about what's happening also next year, Hamish, because it's a huge milestone for British Airways.
It is.
A century, 100 years of flying to India. What do you have planned? What is in the works? Give us a little bit of a sneak peek into what's going to happen.
Yeah, so next year is a huge year for us here in India. 100 years of flying, as you say. The first flights that came here in 1924 took 14 days to get here. Luckily now it's only about 9 hours. But I think it just goes to show the importance of the market to us. So next year we're going to be celebrating that. We're going to have, we'll have marketing activity, but we'll be doing a lot internally as well with our colleagues, because by the time we get to the 100-year celebration, we'll have about 2,500 employees in India, and they're all a huge part of the success that British Airways has had here. So, we'll be celebrating with them as much as what we do externally as well. I think at the same time, we'll also continue to invest in the customer experience, making sure that our experience really meets the needs of the Indian customer. As I said, there's a lot of investment that we're doing around things like the hard products on board, so the cabins, the catering. So for example, with our catering, we we've got about 500 cabin crew in India across the 5 cities that we fly to, and we capture all of their insight and their input, and we feed that through into the catering experience. So really making sure that it's had input from the local teams here. So all of that we'll continue to do over the next year or so.
And it's really important, right? We live in an age of outrage and social media, and a slightest slip up, of course, can backfire. Which kind of brings me to something I wanted to sort of talk to you about: influencer marketing, of course. Perhaps your industry view on this, given the rise of influencer marketing and the importance for a few segments at least. And then, of course, the flip side of it, it's also come under a lot of scrutiny in recent years. People are talking about regulations. There are already regulations introduced in a lot of countries. India is mulling its own regulations for influencers and influencer marketing. So do you use a lot of influencers in your work around the world, Hamish? And, how do you sort of navigate this piece of the puzzle where, it shouldn't hurt the brand, it should help the brand?
Yes, it should help. I think the thing that's really important if you're using influencers is that it feels authentic. I think things that don't feel authentic, they can be called out quite quickly. And so I think we've got a number of people that we've worked with who are, we call them influencers, brand ambassadors, but they're people that sort of have their values align with our values, and I think that's what's really important. So we use influencers carefully, I would say. We don't, it's a part of our marketing plan, but it's probably not very much at the forefront of it. We're very selective about the people that we work with.
Just a little bit about your media mix also. Globally as well, in your key markets, but also in India. Of course, we're seeing a digital boom here.
Absolutely.
We had the giant sort of leap straight into smartphones, and we're seeing the rise of OTT and streaming players, of course. So there's massive boom here. Very digital forward country in that sense. So what's the media mix that you're looking at, not just for your campaigns right now, but also for your big year next year? Are you going to do a lot of television, digital, print?
Well, what is it going to be? I mean, in the last few years, we've become much more digitally focused from a media perspective. It obviously really helps us with our targeting, the way we optimize our campaigns. But I think when it comes to big brand campaigns, and getting that broad reach, we're really looking at sort of using a wide range of media. There's still absolutely a role for TV to play, even though, I think we're all seeing that the sort of the live TV is maybe dropping slightly, but TV still plays a very important part of the mix.
Connected TVs, of course. Well,
connected TV. So people are watching TV. They're just maybe starting to watch it in slightly different ways, whether that be connected TV or whether that be a lot of social platforms, but on bigger format screens. Because when you create a big film, you want people to see that on big formats. So things like cinema.
The way it was meant to see.
Cinema is still important for us. So the campaign that we've just launched now, that's going to be playing out in 120 cinemas across India. Because we want people to see it on the big screen. But absolutely, I think just the way that we approach media, the way that we approach audience segmentation, targeting, that's certainly evolved a lot in the last few years, and that's very much sort of what we see sort of on our future plans as well.
How has airline marketing and your approach to advertising changed over the years? Especially, again, lots of competition, newer emerging players, as well as legacy brands like BA. How is sort of the market evolving in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. There are definitely more players in the market, and I think what that makes really important is the ability to sort of tell a really credible story about why your brand's different. And so we launched a new big brand platform called a British Original last year, and actually what we've done with that is we've not just used it as a sort of external marketing vehicle, but we're actually using it all the way through the customer experience, because ultimately, we have an authentic, original British experience, and we sort of tell that all the way through the customer journey, but we also tell that story quite powerfully externally as well. So I think having a really clear point on what makes you different is important. And then I think going back to what we were talking about earlier with media, I think a lot of it's about how you plan your media effectively so that you're absolutely in the right place, talking to the right people at the right time. And I think the combination of really powerful creative around your brand plus that, that sort of real focus on, the digital media is, I think, what's going to sort of make our brand move forward.
Yeah, but it all boils down to, of course, the experience at the end of the day.
Well, ultimately, that's people remember experiences, don't they? And when I talk to my team, I say, as well as the marketing we do externally, we need to make sure that when customers walk away from their flight, they're walking away thinking that was a great experience, because ultimately that's what's going to drive that emotional connection to the brand. It's going to make them want to fly with us again. Right. And that's why I think, the British Airways service, our people, those things are such an important part of our brand, because it's that human interaction that people have that, ultimately brings them back to us time and time again.
Absolutely. And with Sting, and I remember this, BA has done some fantastic outdoor campaigns, right? A lot of it has even won at award shows like Cannes.
Yes.
Give me your top 2 or 3 favorites when it comes to campaigns. And I want to start with outdoor because there is some great iconic work there.
Yes.
But then maybe you can pick another campaign as well. Give me your all-time favorites.
Well, I think probably the most recent one, which we actually won a Grand Prix at Cannes for. I couldn't not mention it. So as part of the launch of a British Original, we really wanted to tap into all the original reasons why people travel. And so we created a campaign that was all about the purpose of your visit. So as you'll know, whenever you go to a country, you fill in the form and it says, what's the purpose of your visit, business or leisure? But actually what we know is that it's not necessarily one of those 2 things. There's a third point, which is, what's the real reason that you're here? Because everyone's traveling for different reasons. So we actually created 500 unique versions of that. So we had all sorts of different reasons why people might travel. And we ran that in India, and we ran it in the UK. And in the UK, every single outdoor site was unique. Each one was an original. So that's what we won the Grand Prix for at Cannes. And then probably the other one that I would talk about, which is going back to how we use technology in our campaigns, is we had a campaign called Look Up that we ran in London. It's going back a few years now, but Piccadilly Circus, Piccadilly Lights, the big billboards there, big white screen, and as a plane flies over, because it's on the flight path into Heathrow, this little kid comes on and points up, and on the screen it says, look, it's the BA blah 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 flight number from wherever it's coming in from. And we had a transponder on the bottom that could pick up what the flight was. So it was very much live, and it said, there's the flight coming in. And it just sort of evoked that joy of travel that you were talking about earlier. That won a few awards as well.
So Hamish, given the fact that you've of course been with BA for what, 15 years, and in the sort of the airline sector and aviation sector, so when it comes to legacy brands, we are seeing a transformation of our own, with Air India right now.
Absolutely.
And every Indian kind of feels they have a stake and say in the brand because it's that close to people. Yeah. And again, back to the point about that kind of wonder it instills. But given, the transformation of these legacy brands happening, and how do you sort of stay relevant, stay fresh?
Yeah.
Just in a nutshell,
I think
give me your view on, especially again, very competitive space, hard times through COVID, it was badly hit. So how do you stay relevant? How do you bounce back? How do you stay relevant?
Yeah. I think you have to be absolutely customer focused. I think that's got to be your number one priority. Make sure you really understand your customers, not just know what they want now, but know what they're going to want in the future. Know your market, understand the market. As you say, a lot of the airline industry has evolved. It's changed a lot in the last few years. I think COVID has certainly forced a lot of that. A lot of airlines have had, they've gone through a lot of, restructuring and looking at their own business models. So I think that the legacy brand statement is an interesting one actually, because I think certainly within our business, I think we've moved away from that sort of language, because I think we look at sort of the aviation industry at large, and the role that we play in that is one of being a premium carrier We've got a very sort of clear point of view on who we are, what we stand for, and the type of experience we want to offer our customers. And I think that's really important, in terms of we understand what our customers want, but we know what makes us different and what we bring to the market and why people should choose us.
Right. Well, that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for your time, Hamish.
Not at all.
Lovely
It's been
chatting
great.
with you,
Thank you very much.
and congratulations on the milestone next year, 100 years.
Thank you. It's been great being here.
But before we go, we have something very exciting to share. This week, we kick off the Visionaries Initiative, which is a recognition and celebration of the brightest and most innovative marketing minds in the country. The 3-city Visionaries Recognition Program by Storyboard 18 will start with Delhi NCR chapter and will bring together visionary business leaders and marketers who are powering transformation and building future-ready brands and businesses. Take a look at what's in store, and thank you again for joining us on Media Dialogues.
Transformative technology is bringing about sweeping changes to the marketing and advertising industry. In such times, we look to the visionaries. Watch these visionaries convene to exchange ideas and celebrate excellence. Storyboard 18, the Visionaries.